Hello Pickle. If you're seeing this version of the intro, you might remember me from such bold statements as, oh, I just had the flu and I've literally just got over it. Let's record a reading. I did record one reading. You might have noticed I was a little bit manic in that reading because it was right before the fever kicked in. So yes, I did not get better, in fact. I do apologise for a few days absence. If you're seeing this version, it's just my apology to say I won't be doing that again. Sorry for the hair being just out of the shower and not even styled really or anything. I don't know what's going on there. Sorry for the fact that I'm not wearing nails, that my makeup's probably skew with, but we're going to do it. In weird lighting, in the middle of the night, we're going to get some readings out, okay? So just bear with me. And if you're not subscribed, please do. Let's have an intro with some intel, shall we? Hello, hero. It's Lucy Lannon. It's good to see you. You've seen the title, so at this stage you know more about today's reading than I do, since I speak to you from the recent alternate past. This is a general, timeless one, ideally designed for quite a large audience, so we won't get as specific as we would in a private booking, link down below. If most of what I'm saying feels like an answer to a question you've been living, take those tidbits with you and let a fellow traveller excavate the rest. If it's not your reading, there are playlists on my channel hub to randomise finding something else. Whilst it's true that a broken clock is right twice a day, I'm not sure that same clock is right 10 times within the hour. So trust yourself, above all, to know what's useful for you and what makes you feel more empowered for hearing it, no matter what your beliefs. While we're on beliefs, on this channel gendered terms are just a specificity of language to describe energetic tendencies and signatures, solar or lunar inclination in accordance with a hermetic law of polarity, and not any kind of socialisation to buy into wholesale or conflate with the identity or orientation of anyone described. Romantic and spiritual labels used are plucked from lengthy precedent predating any unfortunate trending controversies or engineered cyclical backlash. My dude, around these parts, we don't relinquish the complexity of our full histories. We trust ourselves cognitively to adapt what we consume and see what's healthy and long-term accurate. I'm legally obliged to say this is entertainment in quote marks and that I'm an occultist not qualified in unrelated disciplines to advise on physical and mental health, finances, legalities. You get the picture, you're in charge of you. All my readings are protected and warded by frankly magnificent beneficial forces, though I don't share my custom prep rituals on camera any more than I give out my address. I hope the reasoning behind that is obvious, but you can trust there are zero parasitic or adversarial influences permitted within 100 unseen paces of any signal we patch from the noise here today. So sit back, relax into the shape of your most luminous possible future self, cozy up to imaginal allies, and take in whatever it is you need to hear. If you do like it, this small channel with a big mission very much appreciates subscriptions, thoughtful comments, or donations in order to spread the word and keep the lights on. Now, let's tune that dial. Alrighty, so we're using the Neon Moon Tarot, the Black Moon Astrology, and the Jim Henson Mega Deck of Dark Crystal Labyrinth cards, as well as some from my DIY message deck, which may or may not be relevant to love, even if it uses that language. We'll translate, right? But your keyword, as you see in the title, was useful. Let me just start the timer. So, first Black Moon wanted to come out first, and that is Saturn in the reverse with truth. So there is an obscuration or a resistance to truth going on here. Should we do, okay, we want one of these. We've got a Six of Cups reversed, which is a Skeksis card. So we're probably talking about somebody obscuring that truth who maybe doesn't have your best interests at heart, or something to do with obscuring something about, I want to say childhood or the past, or resisting a Saturn cycle, or something that happened 7 or 14 years ago exactly. Okay, fine, we'll get one Neon Moon, which is the Nine of Swords in reverse. Hold that thought. And then your message cards were, I could touch you and get tangled up in you all day and it still wouldn't be enough. And I could kiss you for hours. Now, I initially saw these as conversationally one side versus another side. So the fact that these two are kind of mirroring each other tells me that either you're on the same page as somebody saying this, or it's actually coming from the same direction. But what also happened, I don't know whether you saw when I was shuffling, is that I'm a narcissist and you should run fell out. Now, my suspicion, because it fell out and it wasn't to do with these opposites that we're dealing with, is that there is a, I don't want to say a narcissist because we're not diagnosing anybody here, but somebody with narcissistic traits who is, I want to say, observing the relationship or contributing to that obscuration of truth. I'm not actually seeing this card as very Saturnian, and that's odd because I'm a very Saturnian personality, for better or worse. It's actually pretty dominant in my chart, which, you know, like, thoughts and prayers for me, dude. I have a stellium in Cancer also, but for that to not come through when I'm so strongly Saturnian, and a lot of Saturnian things have happened in a significant way to me, not just the Saturn return things, but kind of aspects too, have been very significant. If I'm not feeling that it's Saturn, it's more about this truth thing. And the number I'm noticing is 6, and it's flipped, and then we've got this flipped 6 with the Skeksis. And again, the Skeksis are characters that you cannot trust. So where does that fit into the 9 of Swords then? I do feel this is about, I don't know why useful's coming up, but this is about somebody stopping you and somebody else who wants to be tangled up with you and kiss you for hours and all the rest of it, from either acknowledging that truth to each other, or from being able to spend time together, or from, if you're like already together and there's a power couple energy on this, it could be that somebody from outside that power couple is pretending to look away because it's facing away from the rest of the cards, but they're stopping you as a unit, as a sort of alliance or a marriage or whatever it is, from seeing the truth about something external. So do you want to elaborate on this 9 of Wands? This one wants to come out, okay. And I'd like one more actually. That one apparently. And oh, we're doing that, are we? Right. And then, are you below? Who's below? Give me a below. Thank you kindly. It would be better if you weren't on the floor, but I appreciate the irony. So your river under the reading, which is why it fell on the floor, is the 2 of Cups in reverse. So a lack of connection, a lack of friendship, I want to say. Ooh, I'm getting a rejected friend vibe from this person now. Now that I've said that aloud. Your kind of rainbow over the reading, as we normally talk about it, your promise of the future, or your overarching theme that's sort of in the light and not obscured, is the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So there is a conscious acknowledgement here that something about this is not taking practical fruition, or that there is a financial block for a couple, perhaps. Let's get into it with these 3. So the 3 sort of, I'm going to read that as recent past, present, future. Is that the right way? Yes. Okay. Let me just tune into this, because this is really tangled. I could touch you and get tangled up in you all day and it still wouldn't be enough. This is very knotty. And actually, just before the reading, I was binge watching absolute crap on Instagram and found a video for a friend of a pangolin singing about being able to untie knots, or his friend being able to untie knots in a joyful way. It was like a video for children that clearly was just beloved by adults all over. Fantastic little ditty. But again, it's that untangling energy. It might be relevant if you saw my reading that had Bjork's Unravel attached to it the other day, but if not, that's fine. There's just a sense of like not being able to work as a pair, whether you're a couple or not a couple, to untangle what's being said here, or to untangle what the truth actually is with this Saturnian block. Another one of them wants to come out as well. Uranus, Genius. When Uranus hops into a reading and it's the 9, which looks like the 6 upside down, which again seems quite significant here. Can you stop wafting just for a moment? Thank you. Sorry, it is on intermittent, but it gets a bit intense. yeah, when Uranus crashes in, it really is crashing in. It's a very revolutionary energy. So this, I heard the words obstruction of justice, but this obfuscation of the truth has been a sudden thing, I want to say. Or at least from your perspectives it's been sudden, but I don't know whether that's the case, because the Six of Cups usually is about nostalgia and about something that's been going on a long time, or something that started to form many years ago. Doesn't always have to be a childhood thing, usually it is, but it can just mean kind of a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, this began. And that doesn't mean that anybody now sees it as having that, what do I want to say, like old patterning. So it can refer to like a scheme that's been going on for a while, or it can be just like a long-term system of habits or patterns, almost like a familial curse energy, but I don't think it's that. I'm not getting that from it. And I'm getting a no on my hands. Right, recent past. Nine of Swords, reverse. It's a very distressing iteration, right? I hope I can show that on YouTube actually, but no one's naked, so it's fine. And what I'm noticing is that the wires look like snakes. So that there could be, again, like something to do with... Snakes are actually protective for me. I know a lot of readers go like, ooh, a snake, a dodgy person. That's already signified for me here by the Skeksis. This is more like somebody in this pairing who's very in touch with the earth, who maybe works with dark feminine, particularly Gorgon kind of energy, or dragon stuff, because it can be about sort of deep earth stuff, and therefore fiery stuff kind of surfacing out, you know, like rainbow serpent kind of style, like up and out, and I know what I mean. But it's very slithery, and that means it can be quite thonic. And for Uranus to just pop up, it's almost like this stuff is coming up and out of an unconscious thing. I'll get there eventually, guys, bear with. It's almost like there's a feeling of this person being like, I'm so fatigued with this. I'm so done with everything being underground. It's like slithering around everywhere, and I can't untangle it, and I can't figure out what came when. And I'm done with it being such an unconscious thing, or such a suppressed thing. And that might be like in a social sense, not just for the individual person. We're not necessarily talking repression, we're talking suppression. So there's almost like, I can get tangled up in you, I can kiss you for hours. And in doing that, it's almost like these guys are unaware of the fact that this one person's frustration with all of this stuff that's had to remain underground or remain secret even. And it's like taking over it, but that it's... Until seeing this reading, I think whoever this is referring to didn't realise that it was connected to this person not quite telling the truth. I hope this is making any kind of sense. Let's get further in. So in the present moment, Apprentice of Wires. So there's a sense of like being spiritually new, I want to say, or technologically new. For some of you, this is... I want to be careful what I say. There's been a lot in the news recently where I'm from, and you can tell by the accent where that is, about data protection, data breaches, certain governments approaching certain international companies, asking to backdoor certain processes and subvert certain laws via their own law, and there's been disagreement about that stuff, and much more conversation about how the internet is regulated in general, and about who gets to decide who is a bad guy on the internet, and how much information is stored on the internet about people's comings and goings, right? All of that is coming forward to me because we've got a cyberpunk deck here, and because we've got an issue of truth. In terms of like, maybe somebody doesn't know that much about cybersecurity, or maybe somebody's sort of new to a certain thing. I don't want to say conceptually because that's more swords, but like either spiritually or in a sort of technological sense, which again would be Uranian, that prohibits them from realising that actually a lot more of this untruth or this tangledness of things is being orchestrated, is being puppeteered by somebody either with superior knowledge of that stuff or with ways in, backdoor rules, ways of making people sign NDAs, etc., that almost mean that the rules don't apply to them, they apply to other people. And that's why it's really difficult, even if you guys weren't tangled up in each other, to see that some of the stuff that's not going right for you is actually to do with an invasion of privacy, to do with ignorance or willful ignorance of boundaries. We got there eventually. And that might affect money or a business or something material being gifted. For some of you, it will affect whether someone's able to propose. But equally, this could be just like, in terms of the material well-being of whoever these two people are that are very tangled up in each other, there is a third-party energy who does not have the interests of one or more of these people at heart, who has access to more information than they are letting on, and who maybe knows that at least one of these people has been suffering a great deal in terms of stuff they've had to keep secret or hidden, you know, for work or for personal reasons. And things wouldn't be anywhere near as complicated as they are if you two, I want to say, this couple here, but, you know, bend it as you see fit, were aware of how this breach occurred. And I want to say, for some of you, it's to do with someone that you were friends with that you're not anymore. And that might be who this person is, because Six of Cups can also signify friendship. And a Two of Cups reversed is like a breaking of a bond. So if this isn't an old friend, this is somebody who wants to make sure that you guys aren't friends, right? That you are, I want to say, so stressed out about money or secrets or trauma processes or something technological here that affects those things or is affected by them. So sort of like, about all of it and anxious and at each other, that it inhibits a friendship that would be there. And I don't think that there is an element of like psychic attack in the conscious, but I want you to know that when those boundaries are crossed in that specific way with those kinds of intents, it is in fact an exercise in like a form of spiritual attack, right? It's not straightforwardly a magical attack in the sense of somebody doing spell work, but it's more like somebody knows that by, I want to say it started out as them being nosy, and it grew and it grew into them actually invading into places that they really shouldn't be and finding out stuff that they really shouldn't know through backdoor agreements and other people agreeing to things. And again, that is a very narcissistic thing, is like getting people who should have people's data protection in mind to bend the rules a little bit out of concern or out of some form of, you know, emotional manipulation, triangulation, etc. Or maybe like saying you are who you are in order to get through and access information via clever questioning or something like that, right? In order to kind of try to break you two apart. And it's not in a direct way. It's in a, if I get them stressed out enough about how much fuckery is going down and how tangled everything is, they will drift apart quite naturally. And I mean, there's somebody like with a pipe here with this Five of Swords, which again can be quite combative, but to me at a distance and in this light, that pipe looked like a crowbar. So again, it's like prying, it's like forcing something open that shouldn't be able to be accessed. So if you work in tech or you have anything on your devices that you would like to remain super secret, and I'm not just talking about, you know, images, conversations, whatever, but anything that's more critical than that, if you like, in whatever way, there is a sense of this person almost trying to breach into that, even though it's nothing to do with this relationship, because they know that in doing so it will affect this relationship. It's giving like a horrible stalker energy, which I really dislike, having had it happen to me. But I don't think it's a case of like coming off certain social media platforms or things like that, because it's almost like this person isn't using surface methods to find out this stuff, or to like find out about you or your lives, or, you know, like if one of you is grey rocking someone or something like that, this person isn't like going onto your Facebook or your Instagram or something to have a look. It's subtler than that, or it's shadier than that, or it's more underground than that. It's like they're going through this thing and passing this threshold that they shouldn't be able to go beyond technologically in order to ask this friend, or they're using this picture of this thing that they saw that they shouldn't know to cross-reference with this thing in order to approach this person. It's the thing that it's making me think of, and I hope I remember the name right, but I can't think of it, but I think it's season 1, it might be season 2 of Mr. Robot, where they do the hack on something or other mountain, the server rooms, and he has to, I can't even remember the guy's name, I'm really sorry guys, it's because I've been ill and my brain's just like, boo! But he has to use the human error to make the technological hack, right? He's very gifted in passing through these walls of data, but this is the one circumstance where he has to use a person's weakness in order to do the final thing, or they're all going to get caught. And it's actually like really suspenseful, amazingly shot sequence. But also this guy in that case is very innocent, and he essentially, the hero of the series, exploits this stranger and sort of ruins him psychologically in order to get the answers that he needs to get past a certain wall so that they can carry on with this thing that they're doing. It's giving that sort of a thing where it's like, if the final gateway, if the final portcullis is lowered in terms of what I can find out or what I can do or what I can fuck with for these people, then what I'll have to do is use the human error portion of this. And that means going to somebody who might have their best interests at heart, or who they might trust, or who's an innocent soul in some way, and finding out in that sense. And all the while, this person is turning away from the reading, they're pretending, they're whistling into the dark like it's not to do with them. But again, this Uranian energy tells me it's technological in some way. So even if this is a person who's much older or not really versed in technology, there's something about this where the first step to getting to the human portion was like a tech portion, if that makes sense, or like to do with online information or social media, or even just like reading somebody's messages on the phone while they're out of the room or something like that, that they shouldn't have been able to access or see, in order to crowbar into this 5 of Swords energy, this 5 of Arms, to try to split this. So why do they want to, so many cards. This Skeksis person, whoever the fuck they are, yeah, thanks. Let's find out who the fuck they are. Oh, we've got a devil card. Whoop, whoop. So this may have been somebody who previously had power over one or more of you in terms of like pulling the strings, having literal leverage. I'm hearing financial leverage because there's this pentacle in the imagery. Also like maybe having like a sexual relationship with one of you, or something that they wish was a sexual relationship or something like that. Not taking this yet, guys. Or that like addictions with the devil is a big thing. So maybe there was someone who previously relied on the addictiveness of, or on the addictions of one of you, in terms of like, oh well, so and so's always gonna be fill in the blank because they're addicted to food, addicted to sex, addicted to alcohol, addicted to thinking a certain way, you fill in the blank. So that means that I can continue to be how I am, right? It's this kind of, it's not necessarily that they were directly involved with an addiction or supplying anything themselves. It's more that like they enjoyed that that was the case because it meant that they could say certain things or do certain things and get away with it. Or like it would look more legitimate, it would make them look more legitimate by having that relationship. And I do think that's really tied to whatever this Nine of Swords is, where at least one of you has all these secrets and all these things underground that are being managed and making you feel kind of very weary, very like, oh God, there's so much tangled in this. I want to say both of you are aware of whatever that underground stuff is, but that maybe like as a couple or as a unit, if this is like a friendship, you just don't want it to have to breach the surface because it'd be too much work to describe to everybody else what the fuck went down, right? It's a sort of, if there was any like guilt involved in whatever this was, it's not like you're still feeling that guilt or shame or a reason for secrecy being sort of at the forefront. It's more that like, again, your keyword is useful. It's more that it's useful to keep that information under wraps in order to keep everything managed. And I get the feeling that maybe what this person is trying to do is like expose some of it technologically or through some kind of human error thing, so that finances are affected, reputation is affected, legacy is affected, not with that in mind, but with the ultimate goal in mind of you guys are then not as tangled up in each other. So why, my question is, why do they want to, why are they targeting the relationship specifically and not like the person that had this Nine of Swords? Or like, why is it about the couple? What's that about? I want to hear it from you. I don't want to go on that card because I think my biases are going to step in, but thank you. Right, so the way that fell, it's in the upright and we've got a Four of Swords. I'm going to need more than that. Two of Swords. Really not liking this energy, guys. It's not fun at all. It's like moving through my body in a really anxious, horrible way. Whoever this Nine of Swords person is, I really feel for you, man. Like, it's, yeah, it's a lot. It's this one, isn't it? Seven of Swords reversed. Oh shit, this is bigger than you guys. Right, I fully felt like I was going to get some kind of thing from the universe saying like, okay, this is because this person's a narcissist, or they have a grudge against one of you, or there's like a relationship history there, or they're just jealous of the fact that you guys have this closeness, this Two of Cups, and they don't. It is not about that. If you think that this is about something romantic between the two of you being the threat, you need to look at the longer game, and that's why we've been having Pentacles cards. Four of Swords, Two of Swords, Seven of Swords reversed. When you guys are together, you two, right, these tangled up people in a good way, you are each other's respite, right? That's a Four of Swords thing, and you can see that this person is meditating, so you might even have like a spiritual relationship with each other, or maybe it's like when you are together, one or both minds are clear enough to function in a higher sort of a way. With Two of Swords coming in, I think one of you, possibly this Nine of Swords reverse person, used to be quite indecisive, right? Or used to not know the direction that they were moving in. You can see that this person's kind of in the big city, but they don't really know where they're headed. And Two of Swords is obviously about that indecision in general. But my feeling is that like when you came together, there was an ability to tap into the utility of the relationship, because again, that word's useful, right? And the sort of, that makes it sound clinical and it's not. But there is a kind of like, you see this sword down here is pointing to the person. It's like, it's almost like they've been playing a kind of spin the bottle with the sword, and it's acted like a compass point and it's pointing back to self. So there is a sense within which, intuitively or practically, you guys coming together and being tangled up in each other helps give one of you guidance or like a sense of integrity to the self that wasn't quite there before. I feel like you were easily exploitable, or this person was easily exploitable before. That's what I want to say. But more than that, and the big plot twist at the end here, because that could easily be like oh, I'm jealous of the relationship, and also, you know, they seem better together, they seem more stable together, they spiritually know what direction they're moving in when they're together. That's not what it's about, right? That's the first stage. The long game, Seven of Swords reverse, is to me like stuff coming to light. It's telling the truth, and there's echoes of that in the other cards as well. I think this motherfucker is trying to split you up because they know that whoever the Nine of Swords person is, that used to be more indecisive and sort of didn't have a compass to the self in as strong a way without this other person, can't help but tell the truth if they are separated from this couple, right? This is about exploiting information. That's why there's so many swords. This is this person wanting to get something out of this person, right? In terms of knowledge, tech, intel, something. I don't, it might even relate back to money. But it's like, you're not going to give that up unless I make you so unsure again that you can't follow your own compass. Unless I make you so unsteady that you're moving through the metropolis blind, right? It's this energy of like, I'm going to crowbar into, I want to say your love life, or at least your like allyship with this other person or this group or whatever it is, and just like work my way in there in a very sort of insidious fashion, because what I want is for you to not be strong enough to lie to me, to not be strong enough to keep whatever this secret was, right? And that's why it's Saturnian, because it's about boundaries and barriers and breaking through those walls. But it's also about like the reason that those walls are there and what it is that they're reinforcing, and the fact that if one of this stable unit becomes less stable, I mean, it's not necessarily true, but in this person's eyes, in this past person's eyes, that means that whatever you know or whatever they know is up for grabs again. Because they're a person of integrity, or because they wouldn't be able to fight back, or because it would be easier to manipulate them without this positive influence. Right, I'm going to use the Hensons because this energy is some fuck-ass bullshit. See how it all just bleh. We're having one more astrology apparently. So this is the climate. Love reversed, Venus. Number 4, backwards. Which makes me think of like a reversed 4 of Wands, which again is attacking the foundation of a relationship. So it's just reiterating what we've said. That's not saying that this will happen, but that's saying that the backdrop of all of this, as we said, is if I can split up this relationship, whatever the nature of it, however much I know about it, if I can come between it by attacking finances, self-esteem, healing, attacking it from both sides in terms of getting people to believe untruths about each other, whatever it is, right? Then through the breaking of that love, through the severing or the inversion of that love, I can get to the information that I want to get to, because at least one person who has struggled monumentally with things that this other person possibly helped make worse, right, will be compromised. Again, it's not that it's going to happen, it's that you're seeing this reading so that you know that that's their intention, and that it actually has nothing to do with their opinion on your romantic life, their opinion on your money, their opinion on your recovery fucking process. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot. I hope this video doesn't get taken down. Like if you can, and then it won't. So what do? Let's tap into Henson's pure and simple as good energy, what do you do? Whichever side of this pairing you're on, what is the solution from your perspective? I want the third. That may have been a thing, actually. You might want help from an outside party, because as soon as I said that, I thought of the variety reading that I posted. So it might be that you bring in a third energy in order to just oversee circumstances, make sure that everything that is in place defensively, or everything that should be in place defensively is, or indeed make sure that your mental health or this other person's mental health is taken care of, so that nobody can... Sirens, right, protection on my channel. This is so messed up. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, there is a bringing in of a third energy to maybe ensure that both of you are okay, in a practical sense, in an emotional sense, in a technological sense, in a business sense, whatever it is, so that this other person has less chance of doing whatever this scheme is. Knight of Cups, and it's Jareth. So, I mean, you've seen Labyrinth, it's not a great energy. It might be a foxy energy, but it's not great. And then we have a Queen of Swords, which is Sarah. So it usually signifies the querent. Again, a counterpart to Jareth, a opposing energy. And we have another Six of Cups, that's interesting, from a different film. So I think it's Sir Didymus, is it? But the guy from Labyrinth anyway. Please, stop. Thank you, the smoke will clear. I don't know whether you can see that or not actually, but anyway. Right. So if we're just talking about the archetypes before we step into what the cards actually are, what do you do? I noticed the Queen of Swords, which is a very discerning figure anyway, and which may signify you, whoever you are, whatever gender you are watching, is not looking at Jareth, and Jareth is looking super nervous. And they are counterparts and or rivals in the film. The Queen of Swords is this discerning figure, but also she's wielding a book, right? The book of knowledge. So there is something about you seeing this reading and getting knowledge through words about how to protect yourself from this. Whereas Jareth is he's a goblin king. He uses old ways, old magics, things that could be potentially, I want to say outdated. I'm not in the business of offending goblins, but it's a more archaic method of operating, right? So whoever this person is trying to infiltrate and twist and separate in order to get silly information, or in order to come between something or a couple or a process to get the information they want by weakening one of you, they're actually operating on an outdated system. It might literally be an outdated operating system or browser or something like that. If that's ringing true for you, there might be a weakness in terms of the updating of the tech. But if it's not a technological story, this is you just getting more information about how these kinds of people operate. And by that I mean exploiters, triangulators, manipulators, people who see other people as pawns on a chessboard, and people who have maybe like a more sociopathic response to others in terms of social engineering stuff. You might want to read up on that wherever you feel drawn, not to scare yourself, and if it starts to put you back in this iffy psychological state, stop doing it, right? So we don't want to fearmonger over here. We only want to take what is, as your keyword says, useful. But like staying informed could be really good here, particularly because if they are on an older system, right, even emotionally, or in terms of like what they might not know, what is common knowledge psychologically about the way that they usually operate with other people, right? And again, not diagnosing anybody, but people have tendencies or traits of certain things, and they might not be aware of how much those things can be identified, categorized and talked about in kind of common parlance now that information about mental health is a lot better than it was perhaps when they were young, or perhaps when they had more of an understanding of that world. There's something here about, like, if it's not that there's an age difference, it's that they're operating on an outdated system, and you can read up on something or learn about something on a podcast or otherwise get intel beyond just tarot on how to exploit them right back, is what I want to say. But that makes it sound like you're going to be exploitative, and I don't think that's the energy. I think it's more that you're just like, right, I see that you're playing a game now. I've been told that you're playing a long game. I know what your actual motivations are versus whatever you're going to tell me or other people that they are. So I can read up on how to block you before you get to that stage of finalising that part of the plan, right? Then we've got Sedidimus, which is loyalty. So this is reinforcing this initial mirroring that you guys had of each other, whatever the relationship actually is, and saying that your loyalty to each other will be what is the downfall of this. Because if this person can't separate you, they can't weaken you. So, and I'm not just saying this for hits, but maybe it's time to let this other person view this reading as well. Or at least speak to them about what you think might be going on here, if you know that you'll be believed. Or express concerns about the involvement of another person, or about things like the security of a project, or yeah, just whatever language you can find to communicate to this counterpart person, this good tangled person with you, that there's something, you know, amiss here. And using that conversation to be a strength to each other and to be discerning together, which is interesting because that's the other sort of meaning of the Two of Swords, is like the sword of truth, the sword of discernment, the sword of the Queen of Swords, who categorizes and analyzes and separates and makes boundaries in that very Saturnian positive way. It's like one of those swords and another of those swords from two autonomous people coming together, and together they make that defense, right? That sort of, I'm seeing the swords on a wall kind of, like almost like a coat of arms type thing. And I think that it's like your brain and their brain get together and you're even stronger for the discussion of this, for the communication about it, which again, very swordsy. There may also be a need to be transparent about what the financial element of this is, or what the business element of it might be, or if there is any financial or business repercussion or any housing repercussion to any of these secrets coming out that you guys are kind of both a bit aware of but might not have discussed in this aspect. Because Sedidimus has like a gold thing around his neck, and then also there's this Pentacles involvement kind of moving through the reading. And a Skeksis is always draped in wealth. They're always like, even if they're poor, they're glittering with it, you know, it's like obscene, dripping with signifiers of something that they didn't actually earn, right? And there is a need to manage your own resources and the things that you guys either share together or earned or will earn, in order to protect that from this person's attitude to gain, wealth, materiality, the body even. It's just giving this disgusting feeling, guys. I'm so sorry, but ugh, ick. Anything else we need to know? There's two, right? That one and the top one. Thank you. That's very straightforward. Simple is indeed good. Okay. I was not wanting to turn them over. Okay, so we've got a Knight of Wands and a Nine of Cups reversed. Interesting. The Knight of Wands is Jen healing the crystal, which is very auspicious for this kind of a reading. The crystal in the dark crystal is a signifier of many things, but it can be related to these wires and technology from this cyberpunk deck, because the crystal is the technology of the system of Thra, even in like a high fantasy way. It's their equivalent to something like an information superhighway. So there is something here about healing a system and a hero doing that, and a hero facilitated by his counterpart doing that. So again, this relationship stuff. And the Knight of Wands is speed. It's a spirited, passionate kind of energy. It's like, I mean, all of this is very passionate, you know, being tangled up in each other and kissing for hours. It's like applying that passion of that stuff to being passionate about defending and protecting that particular relationship, which actually is super romantic. It's lovely as an energy, but it also sometimes needs to be applied to things that are less than desirable to discuss and apply it to, because the implication is there is someone trying to get at that, and it's like cracking the crystal, right? Or kind of eroding the energy of what that was in a way that needs to be healed by you two. Nine of Cups reversed is Sarah and Hoggle. I think this is more of a clue about who this person is, because we've had a Skeksis, we've had Jareth, and now we're getting Hoggle, and Hoggle is the closest energy to what that Six of Cups on the Skeksis card means in the tarot, right? Hoggle is an older figure, a figure of friendliness, a figure who has been along Sarah's long journey to rescue her brother, but on that journey, a figure who gets tempted or threatened by an outside force, and bear in mind what psychological threats are like in this as well and how sort of real they are, and within that threat decides immediately to betray Sarah, no matter how close they are. So he's an interesting figure, right? He's simultaneously one of her friends throughout the whole film, and kind of her Judas is the easiest way to describe that. So again, if it resonated with you that this might be somebody who used to be friends with the Nine of Swords person and used to be an encourager, or I'm hearing sponsor for that person, that's where you want to look with this if you were unsure. And this is certainly someone who can turn on a dime, but I think also there's someone who would say that they had no choice in doing that. And I'm not sure that that's true. I think that's actually a cope for this person. I think they had every choice and they just chose to be a bit of a dickhead. Because they want these Seven of Swords reverse secrets. They want to know this thing, whatever it is. Again, with the protection sirens. Is there anything else? Yes. I'm being drawn to the Maxfield Parish playing cards, which we're not using until another reading, but hey ho, let's go. I'm just going to get one, so make it... I mean, thanks. That was very obvious, wasn't it? I was going to say make it concise, not make it obvious, but you did make it obvious also. Okay, so we've got a 10 of Wands, and we've got a person gazing off into the distance. Really? Clarify that just for me. Another person gazing off into the distance. I think maybe in dealing with all this, because this is a distressing reading, it's a horrible energy for me to channel, and it might be something that if you are the Nine of Swords person, it might be something that causes you a great deal of distress to think about in terms of being under attack in this way, or having your sort of, not just your relationship, but almost like your support be threatened, your sanctuary be threatened in that way. Yeah, that's what I thought. There's something here about like not dwelling on, we've given you the intel to look up what it is that you need to do and to maybe involve a third party and to definitely have conversations with Sir Didymus about whatever this is, right? And to figure out how, as a power couple, as a unit, you can sort of, I don't want more guys, you can sort of come up against it. But the final thought, Jerry's final thought of this reading is to kind of not dwell too much past that process on all the outcomes of what could happen, all the burdens that you might undergo, all the things that Hoggle could do within the labyrinth to mess with the path so that you can't get to where you want to get to. Because I think, again, the word is useful, the utility of this reading extends to the point where I tell you what's up, I tell you it's to do with this person, I tell you what they're targeting about you guys as a couple, what that relies upon, what actually is your strength that opposes that, and like how they're gonna frame it to other people or to you in terms of what they're working to and around and everything, and what the reality is of that, what their actual goal is, right? And I feel that I've done that. I mean, if you feel I haven't, put it down in the comments and I'll answer questions based on the energies that have come through. But it's almost like now that I've done that, and now we know what they're trying to get to, and that it's actually not to do with you as a couple, and we know roughly the techniques that they're going to use, or the tech that they're going to try and exploit, or the people they're going to exploit to try and get to it. It's about you not ruining your mental health by playing out scenarios of how it is that they could do this next. And that is a huge thing, and I struggle with it also, because there is someone who is a narcissist in my life that, you know, each time I get any kind of outside or internal guidance that they're at it again, it's a positive thing that I get to defend against it before it gets serious, but it's also a negative thing in that I do kind of go off on one in my mind of like, oh God, what now? You know? And it does get to that point with somebody with these traits where it's like, oh, for fuck's, what, this week? Really? So I guess the message to end on is not to spend too much time in that process of like, oh, what could it be? How can I anticipate their next move? Because this reading has served to be that anticipation, right? You know pretty well now, or as well as you need to know from universe's perspective, what the structure of this looks like for them. And because it hasn't really started yet, and because they haven't actually passed all these boundaries yet, and because they haven't actually gotten to the point where they're having an effect on the relationship in any concrete way, or at least if they have had any effect, it's not like as bad as all this. Now is just your opportunity to be like, I know where this is going, let's stop it before it starts, right? Let's be the pattern interrupt on this. Let's put these thresholds, these boundaries, these people, these bits of information in place. Let's have these healthy conversations, and hopefully we'll prevent this person from doing what it is that they need to do. And actually, something that is really, really like demonstrative with the Skeksis is that when they don't get their way, they just tantrum, and you can kind of leave them to it. So I hope that that's the outcome for you guys, is that this bond, this Two of Cups thing remains very strong, and you just get somebody kind of, you know, throwing things on the ground, stamping the feet in the distance, while you continue what it seems to be is a very beneficial alliance for both of you, and aid each other in strength, recovery, financial abundance, and technological freedom. Take care.